Afternoon, everyone. This is Minister Mckenna this afternoon at an announcement of $12 million in taxpayer funding for Loblaws Ontario for a green initiative, a cleaner environment. $12 million of your taxpayer dollars. Okay? And it just seems insane. And I'll give you some context and the reason why it seems insane in just a minute. But let's listen to Minister Mckenna right now.
And look, we know what the problem is. Too much pollution, and we know what the solutions are. That is why I am so pleased to be here at Loblaws.
Apparently the solutions are, well, the problems, too much pollution, is very general because Ms. Mckenna has stood by and ignored while human feces is discharged into the St. Lawrence River in Quebec and in places in British Columbia as well. And I can't remember the river off the top of my head, but I've done reports on it before. I think it's the Red River, but I could be wrong. But pollution, such a broad term that doesn't encapsulate CO2. And yet, that's what this whole thing is about. And Loblaws is interesting because it's reported January 17, 2018, so a year and a bit ago, that Loblaws is in a $400 million tax fight with CRA over claims it set up a bogus offshore bank account. Well, that's kind of weird to give a company that's actively in a CRA dispute in court $12 million. Are we paying for their legal fees? No, we're just paying for their fridges. Right. Here's the article. CBC News reporting, quote, Loblaws in a $400 million tax fight with CRA over claims it set up bogus offshore bank. A senior judge warned Loblaws and the federal government this morning that she would not look kindly on any further procedural delays in a $400 million battle the two sides are waging in tax court. I scroll down. The tax battle has its roots back in 1992 when Loblaws incorporated a regular offshore company in Barbados, initially called just Loblaws Inc. A little over a year later, the subsidy changed its name to Glen Huron Bank Limited and obtained a Barbados banking license. Loblaws funded Glen Huron Bank largely with money from other arms of its global grocery business. Glen Huron Bank then used the money to invest in financial derivatives, including interest and currency swaps, earning hundreds of millions of dollars in income. Normally, those profits could legally avoid income tax in Canada under an exemption for the investment earnings of Canadian-owned foreign banks. But not so fast. Auditors for the Canada Revenue Agency, said as they reassessed the 2001 to 2010 tax filings of Glen Huron Bank's Canadian parent, another Loblaws subsidiary, they determined Glen Huron Bank, known as GBL, shouldn't qualify for the exemption. GBL's activities did not constitute banking or a banking business, the government alleges in its court filings. GBL was not in the business of providing financial services. The filing claimed Glen Huron Bank got its seed money from the diversion of more than $470 million US from other Loblaw entities in the Netherlands and in Delaware. If that money had stayed in the hands of those entities, any earnings would have been taxed, the government claims. What's more, the government alleges Loblaws deliberately swapped the names of its Barbados entity from Loblaws Inc. to Glen Huron Bank and then applied for a banking license solely to, quote, obtain tax benefits. The purpose of the series of transactions were to have GBL appear to be a foreign bank in Barbados in order to circumvent parts of the income tax filing state. So I just wanted to show you that. And then here it is again in April 23rd, 2018. So that's a year ago. It says Loblaws squares off with CRA in $400 million tax fight. We just gave them $12 million. And I scroll down. We don't need to do the whole article again. Quote, this appeal, Your Honor, is about two Canadian multinationals who are parking their surplus cash in offshore in a Loblaws-controlled foreign affiliate to avoid paying Canadian tax on investment income. Government lawyer Elizabeth Chasson, arguing for the CRA, said in a court Monday morning. The government contends that the Barbados subsidiary, Glen Huron Bank, got its seed money from the diversion of more than $470 million US from two sources, a Loblaws unit in the Netherlands and the sale of the Loblaws Weston grocery business in the US. The Crown alleges Loblaws dressed up Glen Huron to look like an actual Barbados bank so it could invest those proceeds and enjoy tax exemptions on the profits under the Income Tax Act, when in reality it was just a regular offshore company. Interesting, isn't it? And here is December 19, 2017, Loblaw's parent company alerted competition watchdog to bread price fixing. So do you guys, and I didn't remember this because it's been memory hold and the press don't talk about it, but do you guys remember when Loblaws and Weston were price fixing? Well, I didn't, and so I read up about it, and it sounds an awful lot like something SNC is trying to access right now. I'll read you what I mean. Here's CBC, and I just read the title. It says, employees responsible for Weston Bakeries at Loblaws roll in arrangement no longer with the companies. That's important. George Weston Limited and Loblaws Company Limited revealed Tuesday that both the bakery owner and grocer participated in an industry-wide bread price-fixing arrangement for over a decade, but will receive immunity after tipping off Canada's competition watchdog. Quote, this is a difficult matter and clearly something that never should have happened, said Galen G. Weston, CEO of both companies. In a conference call with analysts, the companies became aware of an arrangement involving the coordination of retail and wholesale prices of some packaged breads from late 2001 until March 2015. That's more than a decade, guys. That's almost 15 years, they said in a joint statement. They notified the Competition Bureau and have cooperated as an immunity applicant since March 2015. As a result of the cooperation, they have provided to the Competition Bureau neither George Weston Limited nor Loblaws or their respective employees will face criminal charges or penalties. Oh, if you cooperate, don't worry about all that price fixing and all of those consumers who overpaid for their bread for 10 years. Don't worry. Thanks for telling us, guys. No charges, no criminal penalties. Is that against the law to fix prices? Nah, forget it. Guys, we'll give you $12 million of taxpayer funds to retrofit your refrigeration systems. Or, pay your legal fees, whatever you want to use it for. BNN is reporting Loblaws receiving $12 million in federal funds to retrofit refrigeration systems. The federal government said Monday it's giving Loblaws Companies Limited up to $12 million to convert their refrigeration systems in order to help the grocer lower its emissions. The project, which will be funded through the government's Low Carbon Economy Fund, is expected to reduce the company's carbon footprint by about 23%. Loblaws is aiming to retrofit refrigeration systems in about 370 stores by 2022. Like, is your jaw on the floor at this point, guys? This is incredible. This is our taxpayer money subsidizing a private business that has been price fixing for the last decade and is currently in a tax dispute with CRA. Here's $12 million, guys. Can you replace your freezers to save mankind? Get real. It's a scam. This is ridiculous. Unbelievable. I can't believe, everything else aside, all of the corporate welfare in the world, why would you give it to this company? Why would you give it to this company? The company that's price fixing, a company that you're... My goodness, it's incredibly tone deaf. And it's all taxpayer dollars. Yay! We know the problem and we know the solution. No, Ms. Mckenna, we don't. And the problem is the Liberals. Maybe if that's what we're talking about, the problem with Canada right now, the Liberals are the problem with Canada. We know that problem, and we know the solution too. Vote them out in October. That's the solution we need. Here's Andrew Scheer, and here's a tweet from him. I'm going to pause it. He says, quote, I won't back down to Justin Trudeau's threats to sue me for doing my job and asking questions about his corruption scandal. I look forward to Justin Trudeau following through on his threat and presenting his evidence to Canadians under oath. Question period live. And there's a 7-minute clip. It's worth watching. Here's the actual clip from the YouTube feed that I usually use. And it's interesting. I believe it's even live right now. Here we go. I'm going to show you 3 times. When asked when the legal proceedings, when will they start? The response is, why did you delete your tweets, Andrew Scheer? Why are you changing your tweets? What's going on with your tweets? It's insane. I don't even know what to make of this at this point in time. It is so crazy that we've jumped the shark. Fonzie's jumped the shark and everybody's like looking at him and he's no longer cool. And I have no idea. I don't know what to make of this. Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, for months now, the Prime Minister has done everything he can to avoid accountability in his handling of the SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal. Now he's indicated that he intends to sue me to stop my criticisms of his government's actions. Now, Canadians are looking forward to this. Canadians are looking forward to the Prime Minister finally appearing under oath and testifying in a setting that he cannot control himself. So can the government inform the House on what date will these court proceedings commence?
The Honourable Government Order. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, these Conservatives and, frankly, their leader have a history of making untrue and defamatory statements for political gains. In response to a lawyer's letter in December, the Conservative leader deleted tweets that were defamatory to the Minister of Innovation. We put him on notice again because there are consequences for making false statements. At his press conference, he's already refrained from repeating some of his false statements. He should not be misleading Canadians. But here is a question Canadians want to know from the Leader of the Official Opposition. Has he deleted tweets since he received that notice? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, Leader of the Opposition, order.
Well, Mr.
I just want to interject here, and it's really interesting. What constructive work gets done when the opposition or the government responds in that way? If you get asked a question, a direct question, what day will the court filing commence? That's something you can answer. We don't have a date yet. We're not going to actually do that. Whatever. But she doesn't even answer it. She just goes into accusations about tweets. It's really, really counterproductive. It almost seems like our legislature is sick. These governing Liberals have absolutely no interest in being constructive with answering the question. It's really, really jarring to watch a group of people who campaigned on transparency behave like this. Really jarring. All right, here's the next part of the clip.
Speaker, they asked a yes or no question, and I can answer a yes or no question. No, I have not deleted tweets because I stand by everything I said in those statements. Now, la réalité de cette...
The reality is that the Prime Minister directed a political interference campaign, and he's trying to silence his opponents now. Canadians deserve answers without him trying to block those answers. When will this court case start? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the response that the opposition leader gave once again shows why we had to give him that notice. Because on March 31st, the same day that he received the letter, he deleted and changed one of his defamatory tweets. He did the same thing with another defamatory statement that he had made on February 11th. We will not remain silent while the Leader of the Opposition is misleading Canadians. That is not how we work in this place or in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Alors.
Order.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Government House Leader wants to talk about falsehoods. Let's run down a few of them. The Prime Minister said that the former Attorney General never came to him with her concerns. That turned out to be false. The Prime Minister said that he never put pressure on the former Attorney General to change her decision. That turned out to be false. The Prime Minister said that he had no idea about the phone call between the Clerk of the Privy Council and the former Attorney General. That turned out to be a falsehood as well. Is the Prime Minister aware of what the consequences are for saying falsehoods under oath in court?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
The Leader of the Opposition pretends that he won't back down, and he tries to make a show out of it, but that word that he's just used is quite peculiar, because Canadians have noticed that he has been editing and changing his tweets once he's been put on notice. The Leader of the Official Opposition and Conservatives, these Conservatives, know very well that there are consequences when you intentionally mislead Canadians. It is not suitable. We know that it's false because while he's saying that, he's already been editing online statements or erasing them entirely and backpedaling during his press conferences, just like he did yesterday. This past December, he was again forced to take down a statement.
And this is where I'll leave it. She goes back to the tweet thing like 3 times and one more after this. And each answer is less coherent than the last one. It makes no sense. She says he during the second answer, she was talking about because on March 31st and tried to tie it into what he had just said in the answer, but it had nothing to do with anything he had said or anything about anything. March 31st was last week. What are you even talking about? It doesn't make any sense. So this is a very, like I said, it was jarring to watch the political party that had campaigned on transparency and not behaving like this in the House of Commons, behaving like this in the House of Commons. I hope all of the Liberals realize how hypocritical they're being. Really. The last story today is Cameron Ahmed is Justin Trudeau's director of communications. Director of communications to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. There he is, right in his Twitter handle. And today, Faith Goldy and a bunch of other people were removed from Facebook and other online platforms. I'm not sure which ones. And Cameron Ahmed said, "Your move, Andrew Scheer." And I have no idea why. This is a strange, again, tone-deaf thing to do when authoritarian regimes and corporate entities like Facebook that have no right banning people from their platform, regardless of the reason, in my opinion. Should a corporation like Facebook be able to shape the public discord? I don't think so. Or Twitter or Reddit or YouTube. I think that everything should be shared and discussed, not silenced or deplatformed, because that's the only way to get to the good ideas. If somebody's ideas are not popular, then people won't follow them and they'll fizzle out. That's how ideas work. That's how popular ideas work. And claiming that we need to silence people because that's better for the platform or that's somehow better for Canadians is terribly, terribly wrong-headed and not a direction I hope Canada doesn't go. Here's the full list of people who have been banned on Canadian Facebook anyway, from Facebook in Canada. So the list is Faith Goldy, Kevin Goudreau. I don't know who Kevin Goudreau is. I'm sorry. Canadian Nationalist Front. I really don't know any of these people. Aryan Strike Force, Wolves of Odin. I've heard of Wolves of Odin and Soldiers of Odin, but I think that really it was one guy who was in Soldiers of Odin and then changed it to Wolves of Odin. And the only reason I know that is because I read a news article about him going to a mosque and asking questions. And they asked if he was a member of the Soldiers of Odin. And he said, not anymore. And then I looked into him and found that he was the founder of this one. So weird, but that's the only one that I've heard of. The other ones, and Faith Goldy. But claiming all they have to do at this point in time to silence you is claim you're a white nationalist or a white supremacist. And that's it. They just... done. Sorry about your luck. You're done. You're closed down. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no recourse. There's no time limit. It's not like you're done for a year, come back again, and if you've changed your views, you can come back or whatever. 2 years, 5 years. You know, there's no stipulations guiding people on a way back to use the platform once you've been deplatformed. Is that fair? Or do you just get removed from public discourse for the rest of your life? Sorry, you said the wrong thing on Facebook one too many times. You're done. That's it? Is that fair? I don't know if that's fair. Is that a lot of power for a company to have? I think that's too much power for a company to have. Even a group of companies, because they all seem to think alike. PayPal, Airbnb, these things have also removed Faith Goldy. So, and she's no stranger to this. This is not new, right? During her campaign, she was refused ads in Bell Media in Toronto, which is against the law. But the judge refused to see her case. Is this a two-tiered legal system? Is this something that's fair? Is this something that you want your children to have to deal with? Because don't worry about you. Everybody says, I'm not worried about me. Don't worry about me, right? No, I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the innocent people who are being brought into this system that unfairly silences anybody they deem counterculture, anybody they deem outside of the norm. You're done. Sorry about your luck. We don't want to hear from you anymore. And there's no pathway back. You are abhorrent. You are deplorable. Right? And how long before they come for Maxime Bernier? How long before they come? They're already coming for Andrew Scheer. They're already saying anything they can to tie him with Faith Goldy, which is the next tweet in Chagger's response. Maybe I'll. No, I'm not going to show it to you. She does. She calls Faith Goldy and tries to tie it directly to Andrew Scheer. It's insanity. It's insanity. It makes no sense. I hope these people feel like Justin Trudeau has put egg on their faces. The emperor's not wearing any clothes. Your election chances are shot unless everybody in the world is convinced that 1.6% of Canada's emissions and somehow our carbon tax is going to save the world. That's what they're campaigning on. And oh yeah, that Building Canada thing that they were campaigning on in the 2015 election. It's the same thing. So disappointed in the Liberals, in their governing style, in this absolutely just terrible attack track against Mr. Scheer, when they're the ones who initiated this whole thing. They're the ones who sent him the cease and desist and threatened to sue him. So unbelievable. Unbelievable. The whole thing is just wild. Sorry for going off on a bit of a tangent. That's kind of what I do. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. evening. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca.